I will call to order the regular board meeting of the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago. Good morning. My name is Maricel Hernandez. I'm the chair. And with me today is Commissioner William Cressy
Present.
and Commissioner June Brown.
Present.
Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes? If not, let's move to approve the regular board meeting minutes of October 25th, 2022. There a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is the Executive Director's Report. Mr. Holliday.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Cressy. I would first like to start thanking the staff for the job they did for the November election. While we are still counting the remaining vote by mail and provisional ballot, it looks like we are reached 46% turnout for the city, with over 710,000 ballots cast as of last night. So we more than doubled the turnout we saw for the June 28th primary election. And we saw more people voting in this election than in 2014, 2010, and 2006 midterm elections. Well, by and large, the biggest complaints we had on the election day were the problems with face using markers, the Sharpie markers on the paper ballots, and the election judges who could use additional training. Okay. So we are having internal discussions to address both issues ahead of February's municipal election. And I would also like to note that the change in the 5th Ward's early voting site will carry over to February's election. So it will remain the Southside YMCA for the upcoming elections. Finally, on yesterday, we began the acceptance of nominating petitions at our super site at 191 North Clark. And we collected a total of 173 filings on yesterday. And staff is still there and will be there all week and over the weekend collecting any additional filings. So ends my report, Madam Chair.
Are there any questions from the commissioners?
One quick question. I take it we're going to be talking about having more in-person training for our election judges, Charles?
Yes, that's the what we're talking about, the possibility of having the in-person training over at Block 37.
And how did the super site work out with regards to the filing of petitions?
Oh, it was great, Commissioner Cressy. It was very orderly. Some of the filers, they like being over here in the basement, but the majority, they welcome the change and they thanked us for it. So it worked out great.
Thank you.
Are you conducting any review of the precinct polling places in anticipation of the February election?
Yes, I'm working with the polling place department anywhere where we had any issues that were phoned in. We're looking at those to see what resolution we can have for those.
Okay, we'll follow up with that. Anything else? If not, we will proceed with our Assistant Executive Director, Ms. Aspera. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning, Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Cressy.
Good morning.
As Charles mentioned, today, November 22nd, is the last day to process any vote by mail ballots received from registered voters that is postmarked no later than November 8th. Also is the last day to process any provisional ballots. The total number of vote by mail applications requested for the general 22 general election is 210,000 33. As of yesterday, November 21st, the total number of vote by mail ballots returned is 177,336, and military and overseas are included in that number. The total early voting is 151,302, and total grace period is 7,548. The total number of ballots returned via Dropbox is 76,627. The Judges Department did an excellent job of recruiting judges, and the final numbers as of November 7th, the day before the elections, are 7,209 active election judges, 1,285 election coordinators, and 186 standby. On Thursday, November 3rd, the public test of the voting equipment and central computer system procedure for canvassing of election results was held. I've been at the warehouse overseeing the post-election procedures, including the processing of obvious discrepancy and 5% retabulation of scanners for election day precincts and early voting sites. The 2023 municipal election on February 28th is rapidly approaching. With just 98 days remaining before the 28th, I am wrapping up projects for the general 2022 election while initiating plans for the 2023 municipal election, including Election Central. In closing, I want to acknowledge the managers, assistant managers, supervisors, and staff for their dedication and excellent performance in completing projects and tasks during this 2022 election cycle. And this concludes my report.
So Sandra, how
Yes.
many voters did not return the vote by mail ballots?
I have to give you that figure if you don't mind. I have to do some calculations. I don't have that in front of me right now.
Okay. I don't know, but one thought I did have was, is there the possibility of contacting those individuals to see why they didn't return the vote by mail ballots? And any suggestions or recommendations they have to make vote by mail smoother. So this is something for discussion at the administrative level, but if it is possible to do something like that.
I could work with Max and our IT department to follow up to see those voters who didn't return their ballot, to see the reason why.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That total was 32,697 that didn't return.
Okay. Yeah, that's a substantial amount, I think, of voters who had the ballot and for one reason or another didn't return it. And maybe this will motivate them for the February election to turn turn it over and return it to us when they get that ballot.
Excuse me, would that be a community service issue in their outreach?
It'd be more of a communications and IT. We send the emails to voters. But Chairwoman, I'm happy to roll into some of that ideas and things in my report or to address.
Okay. Thank you. And so if Mrs. Spear is done, then I'll go to Max Bever, our communications director.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Well, great. I don't want to repeat too much that our executive director and assistant director have repeated, but, for looking at our turnout on election day to where we're at now, we are in a nice surprising place. As the executive director mentioned, we've had a little bit lower of a percentage turnout than previous midterm elections, looking like we'll be just somewhere north of 46%. But we did beat the ballots cast in every other modern midterm election, save for 2018, which did see over 900,000 ballots cast for 60%. So that was good to see. And that was really driven by a lot of vote by mail at the end, as well as people showing up on election day. So another interesting statistic for us is that, as Charles mentioned, we've got about 25% of people voting by early voting, 25% by vote by mail, and about 50% voting on election day, either in precinct or at our vote centers. And that was pretty similar to the June 28th primary election. So it'll be interesting to see if that's where we're at moving forward and moving into the February election, that we can continue to look at that, at how we can spend our resources or our expectations. As Charles mentioned, we more than doubled the June 28th primary turnout. And that looks pretty much the case from ward to ward too, almost shockingly so. So it was nice to see that there didn't look to be too many statistical anomalies. Turnout in some wards and turnout overall was less than 2018 or comparatively to other years. But I think from what we've seen, it looks about twice the amount of people showed up from June to November. Talking about vote by mail, as we are right now, it looks like we're at around 82 or 83% of those ballots returned. And given that this was the second most amount of vote by mail applications that we've ever received, it's still concerning that we have 30,000 some that were out there, but overall total, we looked pretty good there to the overall percentage and compared to previous years too. This was the most amount of emails that we had sent out to voters, both reminding on vote by mail, early voting, as well as polling place change reminders. I'd be happy to talk to our IT team and do isolate the vote by mail voters who had not yet returned theirs, maybe send a singular email with a simple question or any feedback. My experience was that we did get some feedback from voters that were unhappy that we were sending so many emails, but that's a good problem, I think, for us to have in the amount of voter contact that we have. And just one last bit of statistics that I've been discussing with media, but the amount of provisional ballots for this election was just over 6,100. Initially sounding a little bit high at first, we checked the previous years, including 2018, which saw over 9,000 provisional ballots. So for a once in a decade redistricting year, especially when provisional ballots tend to be our canary in the coal mine, and given that we had many changes and many polling place changes heading into November, I think we're pretty pleased to see that number wasn't as high as it possibly could have been in a redistricting year. But we'll continue to keep an eye on that and what is moving forward into February. We had our first day of petition filing yesterday. It was quite the big show, as it generally is, but the super site was a good location. Media were very happy, despite the candidates that still had to wait outside for approximately 45 minutes. It was a good location with an amount of elbow room for supporters, for entourages, for family members, for media, and to expect that it will be a good location for the final filing day this upcoming Monday as well. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll be up on the website just shortly, our candidate filing list that's updated daily through the rest of this process. And we've scheduled our lottery for the front of the ballot and for the bottom of the ballot for candidates for Tuesday, December 6th at 10 a.m. over at the super site. We'll be sending a public notice for that soon, as well as a media advisory and letting all the candidates know that that's when that's going to happen. I have learned I will be our bingo picker. I will be our lottery MC. So we'll be practicing that ahead of time before December 6th. I'm just recognizing, I'm hoping that isn't a board meeting conflict, but if it is, that's where I'll be at, or that's where we're at.
Yeah, well,
thank you, Adam.
We can always also
Not a
work around
conflict.
it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, and I guess my final just wrap up is been doing quite a bit of media and interviews over the past month, pre-election and post-election. Some might say a little bit oversaturated. I'm happy maybe to take a break soon about the holidays or just go. But to Charles's point, given the election that we were heading into, the massive amount of changes that had to be done in a quick amount of time for redistricting up until August 30th, as well as the shortened window and communicating to voters those changes, as well as getting people excited for the next election, we still saw a pretty healthy turnout comparatively. and a smooth and orderly election day, given by the end of the day when the main issue and when I'm talking to reporters or during our press conference is an issue of Sharpies or an issue of election judge training, these are things with practical solutions that we can address heading into February. That makes me feel pretty good as the communications director of where we're at heading into the municipal elections. Again, given this scope of changes that we had going in. So that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Quick question, Max. Any indication of any problems with the Postal Service on returning the vote by mail ballots? I mean, like, were there a lot of ballots coming in, say, over a week after Election Day? Anything like that?
From what I understand, there's less of some of the postal delays, although we did see a good number of vote by mail ballots being counted after Election Day, but more, and Sandra, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the team receiving a lot via drop boxes in the last few days on top of what was arriving in the mail immediately after just took some time to process. But from what I understand in the complaints that I've been seeing, through the CBO email account or talking with our vote by mail team, less complaints than we had in June. June, we were heading into a lot more people still holding on to their ballots. Remember the chairwoman talking about that at our press conference. And a lot more people who did not yet receive their ballot who had requested it later into the process, needing to go into early vote or needing to go in the precinct polling place and sign a Form 40. Less complaints and less looking at the help desk than we had in June when it came to people not receiving their ballots on time, or at least I think maybe a greater awareness with voters that either had a damaged or spoiled ballot or had not received a ballot yet to just go in and vote.
Okay. And one last thing, Max, in the event you would like a CPA to observe you pulling the lottery, I am a CPA. So this...
Well, good. I think we'll have a good amount of cameras and candidates closely watching the process there too. So I hope
Very good.
I hope we won't screw it up like the Powerball a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I just hope we don't lose you to the state lottery. Okay. Thank you, Max.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, then we'll proceed with old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration and voting equipment.
We're just moving forward, starting to get the equipment back and prepping it for February's election.
And electronic poll books.
The same with the poll books.
Mr. Lasker, legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The General Assembly is in the middle of a veto session, the last 3 days of which are next week, November 29, 30, and December 1st. Mr. Holliday did send out letters along with copies of the Chicago City Council resolution that were in support of the early voting sites remaining open on Election Day. I'm not aware if we've heard any responses. We've also discussed that with the governor's office. So we'll just keep our eyes open to see if we sent letters to the House leadership and Senate leadership and also to the committees and subcommittees involving elections. So we're keeping an eye out to see whether something happens next week on that. That's the legislative report for today.
Okay. Thank you.
Adam, I apologize. I did mean to update you, but we did receive a response from Speaker Welch's staff, as well as Senate President Harmon's staff, that they received our letter and thanked us for it.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully that turns into a bill next week.
Thank you. Let's proceed to new business now. And first is an employment contract for Charles Holliday as the board's executive director. I believe that the commissioners have received a draft copy. Is there a motion to approve an employment contract with Charles Holliday Jr. for continued service as the board's executive director for the term of December 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2024, with an annual salary of $160,000 plus benefits and reimbursements as specified in the contract?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a professional services agreement with Lance Goff for election consulting services. Again, I believe the commissioners have that. The draft, is there a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Lance Goff for election administration and legislative consulting services at a rate of $80 per hour, with total compensation not to exceed $100,000 over the full term of the contract, which begins on December 1st, 2022, through and including November 30th, 2023.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda are various contracts in relation to the invitation for bids for printing services for the February and April 2023 elections between the Chicago Board of Elections and these groups. So what I'll do is I'll just take them a little bit out of order for similar bidders. Is there a motion to award contracts to Grace Printing for Group A dated forms in the amount of $233,147? Group D dated signs in the amount of $15,635, and Group F banners for $1,932. And these are all one-year contracts. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve a contract with Cardinal Color Group in Group B for generic forms in the amount of $20,745, and Group E generic signs in the amount of $11,320? Again, a one-year contract.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve a one-year contract with J.J. Collins and Sons for Group H I voted stickers in the amount of $67,205, and in Group I hybrid form / envelope 276P in the amount of $71,400?
So moved, Commissioner Brown.
And seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve a one-year contract with Liberty Creative Solutions in Group C for envelopes in the amount of $355,258.65?
Commissioner Cressy so moves.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. And finally, with Lake County Press, Group G, Judge's Handbook in the amount of $223,198.32.
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
And seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Okay, all those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is approval of a contract extension and amendment with Meeting Tomorrow for rental of laptop computers for the February and April 23 elections. And I know we have used them before, and they have been, it's been very beneficial to the board to have these laptops for the elections. Is there a motion to approve a contract extension and amendment with Meeting Tomorrow for laptop computer rentals for the 2023 elections with an extended term running through April the 17th, 2023, and with additional costs including totaling $108,000 inclusive of both the February and April elections in 2023.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. We also have professional service agreements with certified forensic document examiners because we will, of the number of petitions we anticipate will be filed, we have additional certified forensic document examiners, William Riordan, Thomas Vastrick, and Kevin Kolbaki. Is there a motion to approve individual professional services agreements with William Riordan, Thomas Vastrick, and Kevin Kolbaki for their services as certified forensic document examiners at the rate of $300 per hour with total compensation not to exceed $100,000 over the terms of each contract, which shall run from November 22nd, 2022 through November 21st, 2023.
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Thank you. Now, in anticipation of the electoral board hearings, we have attorney contractor agreements for hearing officers. And these hearing officers are Brendan Appel, John Ashenden, Glenn Betancourt, Yolanda Carrillo, Edmund Cuevas, Martin Green, Robert Hogan, Daniel Hernandez, Laura Jacksack, Jamal Jackson, Samuel Jones, Eileen Letts, John Nolan Jr., Jeanette Samuels, Yolanda Sayre, David Shostakis, and Maria Stavrakos. Is there a motion to authorize the executive director to execute attorney contractor agreements for the electoral board hearing officers identified, as I have stated, for this meeting, with each attorney to be paid at the rate of $200 per hour and with a durational contract term beginning December 1st, 2022 and continuing through November 30th, 2023.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy. Oops, sorry, Jude.
No problem. Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And now we'll go on to our legal report. Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. First, I just want to point out we had a total of 173 candidates file petitions yesterday. We had about 171 in the first 3 hours. And when you do a quick crunching of the stats on that, we were averaging less than a minute, a candidate being approved and filed every minute or so. I think that's really impressive. So those first 3 hours when it was busy, we had 9 tables set up doing intake, and it was doing about 9 minutes per table. So on average, literally a candidate coming through every minute or so. It was, from what I could tell, a smooth process, and I appreciate all the staff that went that did that great job. Also, they finished the 5% test at the warehouse yesterday. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Joan, and all the others on the team who got that done. Today is going to be the last day of counting provisional ballots. So we'll be proclaiming very soon on the 29th. And then just lots of work going on preparing for electoral board. We've got a training scheduled for first week of December. And of course, our hearings will start on the 12th. Thank you for approving contracts, both with handwriting experts and with hearing officers. So hopefully the season doesn't hit us too hard, but we are certainly anticipating many cases and getting ourselves ready to handle them. So that's the legal report for today.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? If not, we'll proceed with the agenda. We have no financial report. At this time, though, I would welcome any public comments. If anyone has any questions or comments. Okay, hearing none. Mr. Lasker, is there a need for executive session?
Not today, thank you.
Okay, if not, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
And Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're
Happy-
adjourned. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
well.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you,
care, everybody.
everybody. Thank you so much.